All right. Can you guys see the screen with the Brightspace stuff on it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yay, I picked the right screen. All right, here, let me zoom in since you know I like my stuff extra small for whatever reason. But today we are talking about, we have toolkit part 2. So we have discussions, assignments, quizzes, and using the content tool. So let's go ahead. I'll go into my sandbox and I'll open my other course. So that way we can see a little bit. But, all right, so we're going over these first couple items here in the top in our list. So assignments, discussions, quizzes. And I'm going to start with discussions. All right, now the hardest part for us about doing the discussions is that the terminology is a little bit different. All right. So what we would have called a forum before is not exactly what a forum is in terms of Brightspace. So half our battle here is the terminology. So in terms of Brightspace, did I hit collapse? Okay. In terms of Brightspace, our forums are kind of our overarching buckets. All right, so a forum is not the assignment itself where students actually go and post. The forum is the bucket. So in my course, I have 2 forums or buckets here. So the first one is my rendezvous point forum discussions per se. All right, and within that forum, I have topics. So the topics are where the students are going to post. So for me, I have a general questions topic, I have an introductions topic, and then I have a group discussion space topic. All right, so the topics themselves is where the students will be going to make threads and replies. So we're not just gonna, they're still posting, but a thread is their initial post. So it's nice that they have separate terminology here for the students. So if you say, you know, I want you to do 1 post and 2 replies, it's easy because it says start a new thread. So as long as you remember to call it thread, the student will know, oh, it says start a new thread, click new thread. All right. So forums are the overarching umbrella. Topics are where the students will actually go to do their posts. Threads are the initial posts, and then replies are regular replies. They're replying to the threads. All right, and you can use them. So I like this little sidebar area because I can see here's my forum, so my bucket, and here's the topics that I have here. Then if I go to my other forum weekly discussions, I can see all of my forum, all of my topics that I have. And the nice thing is from this page, I can see even at this forum level up here, I have unread posts. So I have 15 unread posts that I need to read. And if I were to open it up, I can see where they belong. For me, they all happen to be in discussion week 4. Any questions so far on the terminology? It takes a little bit to get it down. I still struggle with it. All right. But the nice thing when you are in a topic, all right, you'll see all of the threads come up below as they are. So if you want to just like peruse at them and you don't want to comment on them, you can hit this more button and it will open up and you can see it without actually leaving the page. Then if you wanted to respond to it, if you're like, oh, this is a question I need to answer, you can click on the assignment or you can click on their thread and then you'll have reply to thread and they'll click on it. But it's nice when you have, you know, when you have 15 discussions, or especially for our students, if you tell them to reply to 1 or 2, rather than having to like click into all of them, they can be on the 1 page and they can just hit this more to kind of go through it and see Do I want to reply to that one? I'm not sure. Let me look at this next one. Maybe I like this one better, so I can go back and reply to it. So it kind of streamlines that process of looking through the threads and seeing which ones they want to reply to and don't want to reply to. You'll also have this nice information for them. So for you, you can see if it's unread, you can see how many replies there are and how many people viewed it. So that's nice. It's also easy to subscribe to one. So if you look at it and you're like, there's a question on here and I want to see if other students address it or answer it before I post, you can just easily subscribe and choose how you want to get notifications. So send me an instant notification so I'll get an email. But you could choose all of those things right from here. Any questions so far? All right. So let's go back to my sandbox and we'll talk about setting them up. All right, and you could set this up, you could make whatever forums, buckets you want. So if you're gonna have multiple discussions per chapter, maybe you set it up by chapter. If you wanna set up a bucket for each week, if you have several discussions each week, you can do that. It's really whatever you want to do. Okay, sorry, I was impersonating myself instead of being in my admin account, and myself isn't an admin in my sandbox. So, but when you go to your discussions, it will look like this to start. It's blank. If you import things from Moodle, they will all be here in a big long list. So you may have to move them around. Generally, when you import them, they will all be in one forum bucket. They will not be in separate buckets because Moodle doesn't have the buckets that way. So the first thing that you'll want to do here is click New and New Forum. And then you can decide how you are grouping your forums. Like I said, so if you have multiple forums by chapter, you could say, here's going to be my chapter 1 forums. You also have this option here to create a new topic in this forum with the same title. If you wanted to, you could. I'm not going to. Then we have the description, so you can describe it. So like forums for chapter 1 are here. Once again, you have all these same buttons that we have all the time. Insert post, so you could make a video in here talking about it. You can add links, you can add pictures, whatever items you like. And then down here we have some different options, which is cool because you can do them at the forum level. So you can do it for multiple topics all at once. So if you had a bunch of forums that you're going to post in here that are just like journal reflections or like a free write space, you could say that they can allow an anonymous post. You can do a moderator must approve. So that means that you have to go in and approve them before they're posted. If you are going to use the moderator setting, just make sure you let your students know and say, after you post your thread, you will not see your thread until I approve it. Because I used this and I did not do that with my students, and I had multiple emails that were like, I posted, so then they just kept posting. So then I had students with like 4 of the same post because they thought it was just disappearing. So don't do that. And then we have the users must start a thread before they can reply to anybody else's, and read and reply, I should say. So that way they won't see anybody else's until then. So if you're concerned about academic integrity, or if it's a question where a lot of the answers tend to like fall down the same vein, I definitely recommend checking that one. And then we have display, forum, description, and topics. The one thing I have found is I think that this is super useful if you use the same guidelines for your forums. So I actually did this in my weekly discussions one. So these guidelines at the top, like these in it right here, that's actually the description for my forum. So every week, this is here. I don't have to make sure I copied and pasted it correctly. I don't have to add my rubric every time if I don't want to, or give them extra things, because in here I just said, here are the rules for posting your threads and replies. So for me, it says like you have to post by the end of week 1, post your thread. By the end of week 2, post 2 replies. And I made all of that clear, and then I used this checkbox. So every time they click on a forum, the directions are there. If you change your forums from week to week, obviously you wouldn't want to check that box because you'll have different requirements. But for me, my weekly discussions, the rules are the same, so I can check it. But then you can hit save and close. If you're ready to add a topic, because remember you have to have at least one topic for the students to reply to, you can do save and add a topic. And then it'll come up and you can say, oh, it goes in the forum that we just made, chapter 1. You can title it, topic, what is chapter 1 about? You can do your description, and once again, all the fun buttons. So if you want to add videos and different things about the forum post or to guide them, you can. You can also do these options at a post level. So you don't have to allow anonymous posts only at the whole forum for all of the ones there. You can do it by individual topic. So you can check them here if you're not sure you want it for everything involved. The only one that's missing is that show description from the forum in the topics, because we're no longer in a forum. So all of those are there. Type your things here. And then down at the bottom, we have rate posts. So you can do a 5-star rating. So if you wanted them to like make poetry or something and you wanted them to give them 1 to 5 stars, or if you wanted them to check that they did 5 things, you could use the 5-star rating. There's also up-down rating system. So if anybody's familiar with like Reddit lists and things, you upvote the things you like and downvote the things that you think should be like lower on the list. You can do that. Or the one I like is the upvote only rating system, which is akin to Facebook likes. So maybe if they don't want to respond, they can just hit the plus button and give an upvote like and say like, oh, that was a good post, but maybe I don't have anything legit to contribute other than I agree. And then are there any questions?
Yes, Kat.
Yes, what's that?
When we import from Moodle, you said everything is in one bucket. Is there a way of moving threads to other forums after we import it?
Yes, there is a way. I'm not 100% on the details, but I will look in a second and I will check. But yes, you can move them. One way to move them would be if you edit each topic. Deb, I think I saw you on here. If you remember anything that we did differently, because you did this, but one way would be to edit the topic and then you can change the forum here. So like it might say like, you know, general forum and have all of them listed together. And then if you wanted to move them, you could go in and change the forum in this same area. You would just go edit what you had instead of new. But it is definitely possible. I'm just not sure if there's a faster way than that.
Yeah, it was a bit of a challenge to do that when you import it from Moodle. So I'm always learning something new when I'm hearing it for a second time. So I don't know if it's better or worse to start afresh or import it from Moodle. So, but I did do it. It's a lot of work.
All right, so up across the top here, we also have restrictions, assessment, and objectives, which will show up on most of the items that we can do. So restrictions, if you just want to hide it while you're still working on it and you're not sure when you want it to show for students, you can check the hide button. If you want to make it available at a certain date, end date, display in calendar, you can. Remember, the start and end dates mean that it is visible and not visible. So saying it has a start date says it won't be visible until this time. giving it an end date means it won't be visible past this date. So a lot of people I know wouldn't want that feature turned on because they want students to be able to go back and check and review them. So depending on your purpose, most times we do not need an end date. Now down here, we have unlock and lock topics. This is the one where students can still see it, but can't post in it. So if you wanted them to post by a certain date, you could choose this unlock topic for a set date range. If you didn't want them to work ahead, you could give them a start date. If you didn't want them to post after a certain date, like after the week is over, you can give it an end date. And I recommend using those more so than this end date up here. You can give it a lock date. And you have the option to display those in the calendar as well. Any questions on availability or locking options? All right. We still have release conditions, so those have worked the same way as we've talked about all of the content items. If you didn't want them to post in the forum until after they had done a quiz, if it was a reflective item, or if you didn't want them to look at it until after they had looked at a certain content item, you can set up all of those conditions. Right, so I could go to content and say this forum's not accessible until they have looked at this piece of content and create it, and then they won't be able to open it until that item is met. And if you want to take it off, you can always just hit the X, whichever. And then we still have the option to restrict this topic to the following groups or sections. So if you wanted to make it only to certain groups within your class, if you're using groups, you can do that as well. There's a really nice way, have we done groups yet? We have not, right? All right, there's a really nice way with groups to set up a forum for the group when you create the groups. So I don't anticipate a lot of need for this because when you're creating the group, you will more than likely also create their forum. But, up here, the next item is assessment. So if you wanted to grade or have a grade attached to it, when you come in here, you can click new grade item. You could name it, you know, so chapter 1 about discussion. If you want to give it a short name, that's just what shows up in the grade book. And then if you are using categories, you could put it in the category as well. Then you can scroll down, how many points you want it to be worth. Can it go over 10 points? Is this a bonus assignment? Do you not want it to be calculated in the final grade? Default scheme, most of us are going to default to percentage. Do you want to hide this grade from users? Is the grade only available for a certain time frame? Most of these I haven't used yet, any of the restrictions so far. I've just used these top ones, but you'll hit save and it will add it to the grade book. You can enter the score out of. So part of the reason it does that double score feature is maybe you want all of your discussions to show us 10 points in the grade book, but maybe the way you're going to grade this one, it's easier for you to check off and see if they did these 8 pieces, and it'll automatically scale it and adjust it to the 10 points that you'd like. You can also have a rubric if you wanted to. So if you have rubrics added, they will show up here. If you want to create a rubric, you can click create rubric and it will open up a new window. There's different types of rubrics here, but it's all just click and see what you like to do. If you want to delete it, if you don't want that many levels, you can adjust the points. You can use these handles just like we talked about in the content area to move them around if they're not in an order that you want. They have these handy buttons up here, reverse level order. So if you started out with the most points on one side and you wanted to switch them, you can. They have two main types of rubrics you can create, holistic or analytic. So you can choose if you just want to give them these general categories. You can say that there's no score associated with it here. It's very customizable to whatever you would like to do. If you don't want a rubric, you can just go down. You can choose allow assessment of individual posts. So remember, if you forget what that is, you can always click our little question mark icons. So this option allows you to assess posts in the topic, so you can give each post its own individual score if you want to. For anyone that I've worked with in Moodle, that's generally what I would have told you to do, because you could do the ratings on each one. I do not do that now, but if you wanted to, you could check it and then say, if you rated every post, it's the average score of all their posts, the maximum score. So if they had one post that was 3 points and one that was 10, they'd get the 10. Or the one that was, I directed most people to in Moodle was the sum of post scores. But I don't do that now because you can see all of their posts in one handy spot. So after you have everything set up, you can hit save and close. And we now have our topic here. Any questions? All right. One of the things that I like, I'm going to go back to our main discussion page, is that a lot of the settings and options you have shown up will be on this page by default. So the general questions is moderated. For me, I moderated mine because I'm trying anonymous posting and I didn't want them to post random stuff or whatnot first. But introductions, you can see when this one is locked. You can see that it has groups and you can see that it's graded, all just from this overview assignment, and it pulls all of that information from the settings that I chose. So here's another one. You can see the unlock date for it, still has group settings, still graded, and this one I have the must post first option turned on. So that way they get notification, or they can see for everything that they have what the settings are. Here, let me go to show you. I think, are we talking about grading in later weeks? We are, but I'll do a quick promo that when you're going to grade, it's nice because you can click on a student. So this is just the rubric that I have set up, but you'll be able, oh, I should go to one who actually has things posted. That would be helpful. He usually posts early. Nope, 0 posts. Sorry guys, I picked a bad example. I'm gonna go to a past week. There we go. Week 1, lots of people posted in week 1. All right, so when I go to assess the topic, and I click on a student, so you'll get a warning if your grades are already published to students if you were going to make changes, but you can click where you want in the rubric. Then if you scroll down, a post to put general feedback, and then down here will be all of the posts that they make. And you can sort them by post date, post subject, or best post, which I think goes off the upvotes. But so you can see all of their posts together though in one place, which is nice, which is something we haven't done before. I think the newest release does it, but anyways, here. So then you just save it and you go down and it'll be super nice, and we will talk more about it in week 6. But are there any questions on creating forums and discussions? All right. So one more time, just because I feel like it was a tough transition for me to make, so I'm going to say it again. We have forums, which are the buckets at the top level. Students cannot post in just a forum. You then have to have a topic, which is where the students will actually go to make posts. And then remember that you'll want to call it threads and replies, because the button says threads. So if you call it threads, it'll be a lot easier for the students, because when you say make a thread, the button says start a thread. All right. Any questions on discussions? All righty. Up next. Oh, also fun statistics button, guys. Well, that course isn't fun. Discussion list. Statistics button. You can see by user how many posts, so how many threads, replies, how many they've read, including their own. If they have any unapproved posts, how many things have been scored. But you can also see it by user. We also have by forum and by topic. So you can look at the forum itself and see how many threads and replies are in the forum and in each individual topic within that forum. So, all right, next up, assignments. Woohoo. All right, so assignments, if you click on the assignment stage, we have new assignments, edit categories, and more actions. All right, so more actions generally has delete, visibility, some bulk items. But the categories are kind of nice because they let you kind of group assignments together. So if you have a multi-part project or a multi-part assignment, you can group them with an assignment category. So I have two types of assignments in my class: Excel practicums, where they learn how to use Excel to do stuff, and then all of the different pieces of their final project. So I made categories for them so the students could see them all grouped together. You don't need them. They're not going to do anything special, but I think it helps with the visualness organization piece of it. So if you wanted categories, you'd click Edit Categories, and then you can add a category. So maybe you have reflections that they have to do every week. So there's a category, and then maybe you have formal exams are a separate type that you have, but you can choose to delete them if you want. You just click the box. And over here, it'll tell you if that category is in use or not. But you can hit close. It goes back to the main assignment page, and we won't see them here because we don't have any assignments. When you're ready to add an assignment, you can click New Assignment. Don't worry, that shouldn't happen to you. But we have Edit Assignment Untitled. So the first thing, you'll enter the name of your assignment. Reflection 1. You can give them all of the instructions, our fun button areas. One of the other cool things here is that you can use a quick link to a rubric. So if you wanted to put the rubric in lots of places because you're like, they never look at my rubrics, you can put it here and say, and it will also be linked wherever your actual assignment portion is. But you can do that. If you wanted to remind them and say reflect on this content piece from this week, or an article that you already have posted in the course, you can use that quick link feature and say, let me go to that content item. It was in our welcome week, and let me pick that. So you can say reflect on that and link to the items just to help them navigate and smoothly move between the different pieces that they need. You can do your video notes, all the different things. We have add an attachment, record video, record audio, all of those basics. And then down here, we have individual assignments, group categories. Once again, we'll talk about groups later, maybe today if we have time. But individual assignment, and then down here we have the submission type. So the submission type will default to a file submission where they have to turn something into you. A recording, a paper, whatever it is, yada, yada. You can also change it to a text submission where they have to type right on the screen here. There's an on paper submission. So when we return to non-COVID status and you're collecting papers in class, or if you want to choose to keep doing that or like have them turn something in class, you can say that mark it here as an on paper submission, which makes it really easy to keep track of if you're collecting both online and in-person things. Marked as completed, you can choose manually by learners, automatically on evaluation, meaning when you grade it, or automatically on due date. And those change, I think, pretty sure, based on these options. So because we said that one was on paper, like they handed it to you, that you can either have the students manually check off to you that they turned it in. You could have it manually marked as being completed when the due date happens. So if you're saying like I collected them on 10/12, they'll all be marked on 10/12 as being completed because you have them all. They shouldn't be turning them in after that, yada, yada. There's also observed in person. So if it was like a participation grade that you're not actually collecting anything, you could do that. Or if it was a presentation and you were just observing that way, you could do that. For now, I think most of us will be using file submission at some point to collect papers or whatnot. You can choose it as unlimited files or just one file. And then submissions, you can choose only one submission. All submissions are kept, means that they can just like keep uploading documents. So like maybe they submit one thing and then they say, oh, I need to submit these other 2 documents. That could be good if you have a multi-piece assignment. And then this one, only the most recent submission is kept. So like maybe they submit an updated version of it. It would only keep the new version. Personally, I like only one submission is allowed. You can choose to be notified when students submit an email here if you wanted. You can put it into a category. So we made the weekly reflections formal exams category. If you didn't make them but decide you want one, you can always just click the new category button here on the fly and say, this is the category I want. And then down below we have evaluation feedback. So you can say, you know, this is, I'm gonna score it out of 28 points. If you wanna give it a grade item, click new grade item. And you can type in all those same things like we did for the discussion. Here's that handy dandy preview that I talked about with the student grade book. So if you wanted to change how this looks, you could edit it. We have the option to add a rubric still. If you can actually have multiple rubrics added. So if you wanted to have one rubric for the mechanics and another rubric for the application of the material, you could do that. And then you can choose the default one. So remember, it lets you generate a score. You can always click these to reread them. I don't want to read it all to you, but you can always click on those question marks to help you. And then you could do anonymous marking. So if you wanted to hide their names while you're doing the assessments, and annotation tools. So make annotation tools available for assessment so you can mark up whatever their file is. Once again, at the top is where we have our extra tab. So if you wanted to set up restrictions for this one, you could. It assumes for an assignment that you're going to do an assessment. So that assessment tab is just built in here in the settings rather than our discussions page where it was a separate tab. But you can always adjust that up here for the restrictions. Restrictions is also where you would go for your students with accommodations. who need extra time. So down here, there's a special access feature. So if you have a student who gets extra time for projects, you could say allow users with special access to submit outside the normal availability dates, and you could just add the user with special access. So you can give them a new due date, you can give them a new start date. Remember, I recommend avoiding the end date because that's going to take away the visibility of it. It won't be viewable at all. You might have some need for that, but if you don't, and then you can go ahead and click who's going to get that special extended access. And then you'll see them listed here with whatever their additions are. So you could do it for multiple students at once because like especially for quizzes and stuff, you know, like they all get time and a half is a common one. So if you had several students, you can check them all off at once and give them the accommodations together. When you are done with all of your settings, you can either hit save and close to be done. If you know you want to add another assessment or assignment right away, you can hit save and new, whichever works for you, how much time you have. All right, and then once again, it's nice because we have these little notification icons here to tell us about our assignment. So this one I can see right here, it's hidden from the students, and if you forget what they are, you can hover your mouse. It has the special access granted for certain students and anonymous marking, so I don't know who it is. And if you wanted to adjust any of them, so like I could say, make it visible, and now that eye is going to go away and the students can see that assignment. There's also a couple other items in here. So view submissions, if you just want to see everybody who submitted an activity, you can go back to edit. We do have something in Brightspace called exemptions. So if you say maybe some student is exempt from an assignment for whatever reason, if you go to manage exemptions, you can add them and then that won't show up on their content list of something that they need to do. You can delete, you can copy the assignment if you're like, oh, most of mine start out the same way, or I like a lot of the other settings that I have. You can just copy it and go from there. If I look at here, so here's my assignments page. I get this nice overview. You can see your submissions, how many students have completed it, how many evaluations you've completed, and how many of those evaluations you've published. And then you can also see your due dates over on the side. Any questions on assignments?
Yeah, if you have an assignment and you want to give her a restriction, give some student extra time. I saw that you could mess around with the due dates, but I didn't see where you could add extra time.
Oh, so that's in the special access. So if we were in the assignment, we can go to edit assignment. Under the restrictions tab.
Right.
So even though, you know, we're giving them extra things, not more restrictions, but down at the bottom is the add users to special access. So if you were to click that, you can give them a new due date.
Okay, so this is just due dates for the assignments. We're not talking about a quiz where you have to give somebody time and a half.
Not the quiz yet. That's
Okay.
where we're headed next.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And then I don't know if you guys saw quickly while I was on the assignment page in the other course, I just wanted to talk about, we have these couple buttons here. So you have email users without submissions. So like, you know, if it's close to the due date and you notice a lot of them haven't submitted or a bunch haven't, you can click this button and it will email all of your students who didn't submit yet for you. In the BCC, you can see their names and stuff and say, hey, you didn't submit your stuff. You know, you can go like, hey, complete, and then I'm obsessed with the quick link button. So I would actually go click on that link. I'll show it again right here, this one. I'd click on the quick link button and quick link button. I got it, guys. And then I would go to assignments and say, you didn't complete the assignment. But that way, when they get this message, they can click on this link and it will take them directly to the assignment. You also have add feedback files. So upload compressed. I haven't figured this out exactly, but if anybody wants it, we will definitely figure it out. So you could, if you're a person who likes to do like word track changes, or you take notes elsewhere on files and you want to upload them, you can upload multiple files at once for your students if it's a feedback file to give back. But, all right, any other questions on assignments? All right, over to quizzes. All right, so when you're on your quizzes page, once again, you can add categories just like we did with the assignments. So if you wanted to say, you know, chapter 1 quizzes, or if you have like first half of the semester quizzes compared to second half, if there's anything you wanted to categorize them by, you could. We also have a question library. So the question library is nice because you can import a bunch of questions all at once. So if you're working with a third-party publisher or their resources, a lot of the time, this is where you will go to import all of those questions at once. We do also, if anybody's familiar with the Aiken format for Moodle, where you had to type the questions in like a notepad document and then import them, we do have that for Brightspace also. We're going to do a separate document for that and such, but you can do it with more question formats. So before we were just doing the multiple choice, you can do it for multiple choice, short answer, matching. There's a whole bunch of different ones that you could type in a notepad document, a text file, and then import them all at once here. If you're not using the question library and you're just making it more off the cuff, you can come to quiz, you can hit new quiz. You know, we name it. If you wanted to add a category now and you didn't before, you could do that. Down here we have add edit questions. So you can click on that. And you also have the option to import from here. So we have upload a file. So if you're going to be doing that format that's similar to Aiken, I don't know if it's still called Aiken in Brightspace, that's why I'm just saying similar to. We have the option to upload a file. If you have questions in your question library, you can import from there, or you'll be able to import from the learning repository. Otherwise, if you're starting from scratch, you can do add. You can add sections, you can add a question pool. So remember, the question pool is cool because you could add 5 questions and only give each student 2 of those questions. So it helps promote academic integrity. On a basic level, we can just click new question, and then we have all these different question choices that you can choose from. I'm gonna go with fill in the blanks. And you don't have to title your questions. I recommend giving them something descriptive because it's usually what they search by. So like chapter 1, objective 1, how many points the question is. We also had difficulty in Moodle. I don't think a lot of people used them, but if you wanted to rate this question as being a more difficult question versus an easy question, you can. It does cool things in the reporting with it. If you wanted to add an image, you could, but then we have, you can add a description, and then we have blanks and text. So we have text 1, blank 1, text 2. So like here we would write, this is a, we don't even have to put the line, it'll do it. This is a fill in the blank question. So, and then if we hit the preview button, it pulls it up for us. So when the question, when you're taking the question, this is how it would look for students. when you're grading the question, this is how it would look. And if you had comments given or feedback in the settings, it would show you those as well. And then once again, if you wanted more, so if we wanted to add another blank, we could. Obviously it's not there. You can also choose if it's case insensitive, if capitalization matters, those items. You could weight them right now. So since we have, you know, 2 of them now, I might weight them each 50% of the question, but then I can go ahead and hit save. And it'll show up, and then we'll be able to add or import other questions. There we go. And once again, remember, you can always click preview if you wanted to see what it was, and then you can see here's the answer key to make sure it was correct. Any questions on basic question adding?
Yes, Kat. In Moodle, I was experimenting with designing questions using graphics because I use music notation a lot, and I would have to import graphic images, you know, from music notation into the questions. And in Moodle, it was very primitive. I could get the graphics imported okay, but then they wouldn't display in the same size as what I was viewing as when I was designing the question, or in the position where I put it when I was designing the question. Do you know if that is any easier in Brightspace?
Let's try one. I have not tried it yet. Are they usually multiple choice questions, or what type of question?
I was doing all kinds. I used multiple choice, I used matching, and I used click and drag.
All right. Let's go with multiple choice. So if we click on our box area, our icons appear here where we can type our question text. I'm going to go to insert stuff. Who knew there was a Marywood of Orange, California, guys? All right, I'm going to put it in the question. And so over on some of the question types, we'll actually give you this preview on the other side. So like your question type could be here. Are the right music notes? You can see it show up live in the preview right here. And then we could say A, B, C, D. And you can see your answer choices show up. So this one has a live preview. But it does look like the image shows up nicely. That was from the search right here in Flickr. But if I added one of my own that's on the computer. Here you go, guys. A random screenshot that I have. You do have to enter your own link text just in case it doesn't load. They'll be able to click the link. And it will make you enter the alternate text for accessibility purposes. So it looks like it's showing up nicely. If you have one that doesn't, let me know and we can look at it.
Yeah, a lot of it had to do with sizing and positioning. You know, so you know, sometimes it would look okay, you know, in the preview when I was designing the question, but then when I previewed the quiz, it was like way too big or way too small. You know, it didn't display the same way.
All right, let's see. I'll come back to it at the end and I will switch to the student view so we can look at it and see on this one.
Okay.
But if I switch right now, it will take too long. So otherwise, real quick here, we have restrictions. They're still the same. Down here is the time limit option. So Alan, over here is add users to special access. On a quiz this time, you will have the option to give them, you can give them a new recommended time limit. You can give them a new enforced time limit. You can give them an alternate grace period that they have after time is up. You can give them a different behavior. So even if their time is up, you can choose something different to happen compared to the traditional students. You can give them extra attempts compared to the traditional students. But they're all here. It's still in that add special access for users. You could give them a new due date if you wanted. So you have the option of either just giving them time and a half. You have the option of giving them a new time frame to work in, but it's still in that add user special access item on the restrictions tab.
Great, thanks.
Yep. All right, we have the option to add assessment because you might just have some quizzes that are for self-assessing for the students to go through and make sure that they pulled out key components, or you can have it as an actual grade in the grade book. So allow attempt to be set as graded immediately upon completion. You can add it as a grade item to the grade book, change their attempts. If you do give them multiple attempts, you can choose how their grade's calculated. Over here on the submission views, this is one that I know some people will like because, so we have the default view is that right after their quiz, they can't see their questions and they can't see the statistics. And I know that we have some people who like to say, I want you to see the answers, but only for this hour while we're going over it in class, because I use this from semester to semester. Just like if you were to pass it back during class and then collect it at the end of class. So if you're that type of person, you can add an additional view. And you can say, what do I want them to see? So you could say like, going over the answers. And then you can give them restrictions. So you can say, all right, it has to be at a certain time. You only have 90 minutes to look at it from that time frame. And then what do you want to show them? Do you want to show the questions? Yes. Okay. What do you want to show them? Do you want to show them just the ones they got wrong? Do you want to show them all of the questions, but not what they responded? All of the questions with what they responded? Show the score for each question. But do you want to show them the class average? But you can add this as a different way for the students to see the assignment. And then you'll see it show up here as an additional view. So it will happen without any extra nonsense. You just have to tell the students, you can look at your answers at this date. Are there any questions? All right then. I'm gonna save and close it and make it visible. And I'm going to switch to student view. Go to quizzes. Click on it. Oh, it doesn't show me the start button because of the, I'll find it and I will send you a screenshot of what it looks like. But because I'm just faking being a student and not, not a real student, it doesn't like me. The one other thing I just wanted to remind you is that you can go to all of these tabs, just like we did today, to create items. And then if you want to put them on the content tab, right? If you're like, all right, in week 2, this is where we're gonna have quiz 1. I would just go to existing activities. I would say I want a quiz I already made or imported from Moodle. And you can click on it and it will pull it in for you. So depending on how you want to create, like I said, if you're the person who wants to go through each assignment and add all of your assignments, add all of your discussions, add all of your quizzes, you can, and then you can come back to content and add them in where you like. Or if you click on the upload create, you can choose to add a new assignment from right here and build as you go, depending on your approach to course design. Any questions? There is not time for groups today, so we will make sure to do groups next week. There's also some other tools in here. We didn't go over them because they're not as the most prominent ones, but there is the checklist, and there is surveys here. So surveys are anonymous surveys. So if you wanted to create a survey and send it to your students, you could, you know, and say like, you can give instant feedback. You can make the results anonymous so they could, you know, you could ask them, how's class going? Do you like the way I set up my Brightspace? And whatever, what else you'd want to ask them. But all right, a full hour today, guys. I feel like they're always full hours. There's just lots to talk about.
Got a good one.
All right, any questions before we go or anything else? Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
Right.
Thank you.
Perfect. I will get the student view. I know what it is. I can pretend to be me and it should work. Yep, so now it says start quiz. All right, so I think it looks as big as it did in our preview.
Mm-hmm.
And then somewhere it is mobile responsive. We're supposed to be. I'll look at it on my phone too and see how the picture looks on there, just so you know, and I'll send you a screenshot of it.
Okay, thanks. I'll experiment with it in my sandbox and see what I can come up with.
Awesome, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.